if you're offering a PS5, there are 1,000 people, you're just offering 50. Of course, people are going to fall over each other.
We keep speaking about the creator economy. One of the biggest things here is that it's known to be a field where there are no gatekeepers, right? It's known to be a field which is very decentralized, it's permissionless and whatnot. And my thought is that if you don't have gatekeepers, you can always expect a riot to happen. He felt mature, first of all. He was not freaking out, but he was definitely perturbed. So he was apologetic. At the same time, he expected better behavior.
You have to basically understand your fans. That's the thing. Because Kai failed in anticipating the potential of his fans. The biggest lesson is that know your fans, and if they can go out of control, have extra security in place. You think they're not going to be very upbeat about it, plan your event around it, put some more music, put some more activities.
And I think this is something that is a big lesson for brands, for creators, for everybody in the ecosystem that really understand the pull of the creator. There are two layers to influence. One, which is the scene. You have the likes, you have the views, you have the followers, the subscribers, the scene layer. The other is the unseen, the intangible, the depth of following, the devotion, the love. But sometimes this love, this devotion can get too far. And this is exactly what happened at a recent event in New York City. Kai Cenat, who's a YouTube streamer, who's a Twitch streamer, he did an event, he did a giveaway where the giveaway went slightly wrong. But before we speak too much about Kai Cenat and what influence really means and how much influence is too much influence, let me introduce Shubham to you. Shubham, how's it going, man? How are you?
Absolutely fine, man. It's boomer versus Gen Z season, so I'm all ready with my popcorn.
Okay, wow, you're ready to sort of consume this content, which is by far the craziest piece of news that's come from the creator economy, as it were, because this just shows that the creator economy isn't just limited to rooms and kids watching videos. It's tangible. People are actually going out, and I spoke about the unseen layer, but this is now becoming the seen layer of influence, where you're actually going to these events, to these to the
Meet
Union
and greet.
Park, to these meet and greets, and look at what happens, right? So just to sort of back it up, and just as a primer to everyone, Shubham, let me just describe what happened. So it's the 4th of August, and our man Kai Cenat, who's obviously a streamer, he decides to do a giveaway where, among one of the other things, he's also giving out a PS5, and he was expecting a few people, like a few, let's say 500,000, whatever, in that range, whatnot. But what happened, unfortunately, was a riot. It was a full-blown riot, because you have people falling off cars, you have people climbing on trees, on poles, perhaps on balconies. They're just watching and they want to go down and sort of see what the hell is happening. There's pushing, there's shoving, there's almost fighting going around. Obviously, there's loads of abuses being heard. The police has been involved. Kai Cenat gets into custody. He's taken away by the police. And it gets covered by not just the domestic New York City papers, but also international media. So what was a plain and simple meet and greet is now become worthy of international media covering this. So that to me is just simply crazy and simply fascinating.
And nobody anticipated it, neither the authorities, because let's say if Mr. Beast is coming to a town and he hasn't taken permission from police, but police knows that he's coming, and they will deploy extra people there. But even the local administration was like, okay, what is Twitch and what is a Twitch streamer? So how many people will turn up? Like, it's an open garden and people can stand there.
Absolutely.
But nobody could anticipate, and it is interesting. I really liked it. Not the riots part where people
not
are
the
getting
physical
beaten up.
violence part of it, but the fact that people showed up.
But I loved the spectacle of it.
Sure. It felt like a movie almost, to see so many people, and just felt like it was a scene from a film, probably Oppenheimer or even Barbie for that matter, in other words. But what's interesting, Shubham, one of my key points here is that the fact that we keep speaking about the creator economy, one of the biggest things here is that it's known to be a field where there are no gatekeepers, right? It's known to be a field which is very decentralized. It's permissionless and whatnot. And my thought is that if you don't have gatekeepers, you can always expect a riot to happen, right? If there are no people at the gates, then you can have like thousands of people coming, and you can't really control them. It almost becomes like a mob mentality. And these people have such strong fandoms. My reason also, and again, this might be tangential and something that might just be a theory, is that my reason why Kai Cenat was so successful, making so many people at one place, was the fact that he is a streamer who has done like a lot of these live interactions. Like, streaming by nature itself is like, you have to
Yeah,
speak
yeah, yeah,
to a lot of people. He's done subathons, and then you have this connection, this parasocial relationship, right, with your audience, which is extremely special, right, which is
yeah,
perhaps not possible when you're a shorts creator, when you're doing, other types of content. Like, I don't think Nerd Writer can ever have this pull ever, right? But
yeah.
because this guy's a streamer, because this guy is so vocal and just so interactive, I think that was one of the reasons why it also exceeded his expectations, and it became this event where people wanted to go. What do you think were the reasons why people sort of came for this event? The craziness of it.
And video games are emotional products.
Right.
And if you are, promising me a video game console, and if you don't give it to me, I will, discontinue our friendship. So at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we need to look at very basic stuff.
Sure.
He was not offering, eatables people
Yeah.
can get anywhere. He was not perishable items. He was offering video games to, video game streamers, viewers, right?
Sure.
Watch people who watch his streams.
Sure.
So I mean, see, if you are offering a PS5, and if you are, let's say there are 1,000 people, you're just offering 50. Of course, people are going to, fall over each other.
For sure.
So
No,
it
I
was the
think this
perfect, recipe for the disaster,
correct. It was
because
the
the
perfect
payout
storm.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the perfect storm. Yeah,
Yeah, and what's really interesting about the perfect storm as an analogy, Shubham, is the fact that um, this almost becomes a way of generating more content. Like, you have people
yeah,
reacting to, there is a 54-minute video, right, which you had also shared with me,
yeah,
of this person just giving his thoughts, and obviously he's from the same community, like, he's also African
yeah.
American.
And look at us. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and like, it's just so crazy to see this person really, commenting on so many people, and what is the kind of nonsense that they're going through to just to be a part of this entire
yeah,
this event. And that just tells me that, man, something happens, and that almost has an infinite amount of opportunity to make content on it, right? So now you're not just creating one piece of content and that's it. One event happens, and then the loops that you can create, reacting to something, observing, doing commentary on it, I think that becomes very fascinating.
yeah.
However, the most interesting part that has been very recent, right, and it's just literally 6 hours before recording this, Shubham. We're recording this, and this has been released approximately 5 to 6 hours before recording this, is
Hmm.
actually Kai Cenat's response to this, right? And to me, that was extremely fascinating. What did you make of it, right? Because to me, it just felt like, okay, this guy he felt mature. First of all, he was not freaking out, but he was definitely perturbed. He was like,
Yeah.
okay, let's get to it. Okay, we know what happened. We
Mhm.
all know the reality of the situation. But I was doing this as a way of giving back to society, and this is what you all do to me, this, that. So he was apologetic. At the same time, he expected better behavior. But I want to understand what your thoughts are of this apology.
I mean, he simply didn't anticipate that so many
Sure,
people would come, and
sure.
they took many wrong decisions, like getting off the car way before the where the people were, and crowd control was not there. So he thought some nerds would turn up who
Yeah,
just sit in their rooms and all, but turns out people are very passionate about him. So I think he
correct.
was quite pleasantly surprised,
Yeah.
and going to jail for this reason, I guess it's not a problem. It's like a certificate for your popularity. So I mean, who all can say like I went to jail because of my fans, so that's a badge of honor.
Yeah, it's and like, I think we were discussing this as well, that you've truly arrived if you've when you've
Yeah,
when
like,
there's
see, I'm fascinated by the industry's response to this, the
okay.
creator
What has been
economy
the
brands.
what has been the response, like, what according to you has been the response?
Like, how do you attribute
Hmm.
let's say influencer marketing campaign success, right?
Yeah.
How many clicks do you get, how many people do you visit? But there is something beyond all that, right?
Yeah.
In the
The
physical
unseen layer
world,
that we
yeah,
spoke
unseen
about.
layer. I mean, there are people, you said in the introduction that people have millions of followers, but when they do a meet and greet, hardly 100 people turn up. Like
Correct.
during VidCon, Charlie D'Amelio came, but the people who came, like her fans, the numbers were skewed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here, I mean, a mere streamer who thought like around 500 people will come, like suddenly 2,000 people are there. So industry is also watching. They are
Industry is
also
watching.
looking to gauge your potential as an influencer in different terms. I mean,
Yeah.
if you are promising 500, but you're delivering 2,000 people,
Yeah,
You are a prospect, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And I
So
think,
things are churning, things are,
yeah,
mix and matches are happening. So it's very fascinating what's happening.
definitely an inflection point, because I think, Shubham, what you mentioned is so poignant and prescient, right? Because you just can't rely on followers these days. You can't have that massy approach that, okay, fine, 10 million followers. That equitable thing is not there. Like, 10 million followers, that means 10% of that. So, okay, these many people will come, right? Or like, 1 million followers. I think it's not there. Like, the
Yeah, it's no
definition of,
brainer. Yeah,
yeah, of two people having the same amount of following, but followers, but the following that they have can be vastly different, right? And I think this is something that is a
yeah,
big lesson for brands, for creators, for everybody in the ecosystem, that really understand what the creator, the pull of the creator, right? I think this pull word,
yeah,
again, it's slightly intangible. You can't really define it. This Kai Cenat has got a 7 on the pull scale. Like, you can't really define that. It's very intuitive. It's something that, oh, this person, I know this person has something that can bring about crowds,
yeah,
right? So I think that needs to be very, people, especially brand managers. I think, creators
yeah.
somehow
They
intuitively
need to
know
take
that
these
key.
things into account.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they know it. And people, I've also spoken to so many people, right? Like my friends in the space and whatnot. They're like, dude, I have like 50K followers on Instagram, but I don't have a following, right? And
yeah,
I think,
correct.
again, I'm a big fan of long form content, as you probably know by now. So I'm a big proponent of the fact that if you're doing long form, if you're doing, let's say, a podcast, if you're doing live streaming, automatically this relationship that you have with your fans, even though your absolute numbers might not be a lot, let's say what a short form can give you, but the depth of this relationship,
Yeah,
that to me is extremely special. So that is one major takeaway. But talking about takeaway, Shubham, like, what do you think about how creators can design events, and like, just this in general? This is, again, as you mentioned very rightly, that the industry is watching. But now the industry is watching, what can we learn? What can creators learn from this, in terms of how can they go about events, and like, meet and
yeah.
greets and giveaways? Should they not have
I mean,
PS5 as an option?
it also depends on the category, right?
Of
Let's say
course.
if you're a doctor and you're a creator, of course people are not going to mob you, they're going to come at you. But let's say if you are a fitness freak, right?
Yeah,
If you're a fitness trainer, creator, then of course people will come after you. You have to run with your fans. You can organize many other things, right? If
sure.
you're cooking, you can invite 500 people, cook for them. So I mean, you have to basically understand your fans. That's the thing,
Yeah.
because Kai failed, in anticipating the potential of his fans.
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
biggest lesson is that know your fans, and if they can go out of control, have extra security in
Yeah.
place. If they are, let's say, you think they're not going to be very upbeat about it, plan your event around, put some more music, put some more activities. At the end of the day, it's understanding your fans.
I think that's very important. And perhaps a great way to gauge what kind of fans you have is to do a slightly smaller event. I think if you can do a
Mm,
meet and greet, which is, let's say, a 15 member thing. Okay, so it's happening at a cafe. It's a very special event. Of course, for bigger creators, it gets very difficult to do this. But even if you're a creator who's perhaps not that big, and not everybody has a million followers, even if you have a few thousand, or like, 50K and whatnot, perhaps do something which is like, you're doing a meet and greet where you're meeting at a cafe, or you're doing a activity together, you're cycling together, you're having breakfast together. I myself have done, for my own podcast as well, I've done a couple of these live recordings
yeah,
in Bangalore and in Delhi. So it's always fun, and I think it's you also have to be very respectful to the fans, right?
yeah,
And what was very interesting about the video also, Shubham, I was trying to gauge what the audience sentiment was, right? Because YouTube comments are the perfect place to gauge what
yeah,
the audience sentiment is. And at least from the top comments, what I saw was that people were very positive. They were supporting Kai. They were like, okay, at least you've addressed this.
yeah.
You're acknowledging the fact that there was a security lapse and that we can do
Yeah,
better.
that's not his problem. People
Yeah,
falling off his car, that's not his problem.
correct,
And if he's,
correct.
offering PS5, I would have climbed on his car. So, and that's not his problem, right?
Correct, correct, correct. So clearly understanding not just the fan but the human behind it has been a very big lesson. But folks, do tell us what you feel about the entire incident, and again, how do you design an interaction, a meet and greet, which is really beneficial for both the fan and the creator, right? Because remember, it's not just the fans you're servicing; the creators also want to feel nice about themselves, because it's always online, it's always happening in front of a screen. But once you have that offline interaction, hopefully it doesn't end up in a riot. Tell us your favorite parts about the video, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel of Thousand Faces Club. There's a subscribe button down there, because we keep releasing videos every week on the creator economy, what's happening, and going deep diving into creators. So we'll see you next week. This has been super fun. I'm Shrivar.
I'm Shubham.
All right. See you next week. Bye bye.